Gojo versus Mahoraga is finally here, and at the end of last chapter, we saw Gojo have his Unlimited Void adapted to as it was slapped away by Mahoraga. So in this video, we're going to talk about the options Gojo has to defeat this thing and how far the adaptation has likely gone. Because despite the horrible situation that Gojo is in, I do think he is going to manage to kill this thing because you don't really get half measures against Mahoraga. You either kill it or it adapts to you. So let's talk about the build up to this event and what led to Mahoraga coming out in the first place. Prior to the wheel reveal, we had quite the back and forth between Gojo and Sukuna in this fight, but a lot of people, myself included, were asking why isn't Sukuna using everything he could be using in his domain, and Gojo asked this at the end of chapter 228 as well. And we see Gojo wondering why is Sukuna not using any other techniques besides the ones granted to his domain, which in this case is Cleave and Dismantle. Gojo is also confused as to why Sukuna is choosing riskier options like attacking the exterior that is strengthened in his domain instead of the interior to escape, even though he swapped the conditions and an interior escape is far easier. So really, Sukuna is just taking damage for no apparent reason, so he thinks. But then the wheel reveal happens and we know that the wheel has been out for a while. And this reveal pretty much shows us that Sukuna, he's been adapting on purpose the entire time. And that's really the only way things like Sukuna just fighting Gojo in his domain and only attacking the exterior makes sense. Or things like Gojo getting the upper hand out of nowhere when previously Sukuna was able to glue himself to Gojo. And really neither Gojo nor Sukuna have taken any permanent damage in this entire fight. And I want Gojo to win, but Gojo's looking a little more fatigued than Sukuna is. They called me crazy in the space when I said that wheel could adapt to Unlimited Void, but here we are. And let's talk about what the wheel has actually adapted to up until this point. So I'm going to go over what we have 100% confirmed first, and then I'll go over into what it has likely adapted to already. Right now, we know that it has had at least 2 wheel turns, so 2 parts of Gojo's technique are confirmed adapted to. The first wheel turn we saw was likely Infinity, and the second wheel turn was obviously Unlimited Void. But more importantly, there is a lot to imply the wheel has been out the entire time. A lot of people point to Sukuna using domain amplification as a reason why he can't use 10 shadows at the same time, and that is true for Sukuna's innate technique, but we don't know how Sukuna's domain amp interacts with his vessel's innate technique. We already know that a vessel and an incarnated sorcerer do not share the same domain expansion so far, and the wheel being out the whole time, it just makes a lot more sense. It lines up with Gojo wondering why Sukuna has only been using Cleave and Dismantle this whole time, even when he's burnt out of his technique. And really, I don't see at what point in this fight that Gojo would be unable to see Sukuna pop a wheel out into his own shadow. We know he has to make a hand sign for it. So personally, I think the wheel has been out for the entire time. We'll find out in 2 weeks, but let's talk about what it has adapted to so far, if that is the case. And at that point, it's adapted to pretty much everything. We see him use Hollow Purple at the start of the fight, followed by uses of Infinity and Blue in direct contact with Ryoma and Sukuna, and a red reversal directly into Sukuna's face. And in this chapter, Sukuna finally got the last adaptation he needed with Unlimited Void, and he adapted to that as well, and now Mahoraga has probably adapted to Gojo's entire technique that we know of so far. And I really think that's what happened, because it just lines up the most with Gojo's internal dialogue and how Sukuna has been acting this entire fight. But that being said, how is this fight going to go, and how will Gojo survive and kill Mahoraga? Well, first things first, is Sukuna going to be awake next chapter? Maybe. But there's also a chance that Sukuna is just sitting there in the back like an NPC spectator for this whole thing. Even if the wheel's adaptation to techniques is shared between Sukuna and Mahoraga, depending on who is currently using the wheel, there was still a gap in time where he definitely didn't have it. Like that little time period where Gojo is getting his domain slapped away, Sukuna is definitely cooking and baking in the back. So we might be about to witness the glorious 1v1 adaptation cooked up Mahoraga versus Gojo Satoru. I have been gassing this thing up for months, and I am finally about to get the payoff to my Mahoraga church attendance rate. Sukuna, you little fraudy fucker, you sit down over there. The son has become the father. Gojo, you're about to find out how your great-grandpa died. But jokes aside, how is Gojo going to handle this thing? Well, he's probably going to get pushed by it pretty hard for a bit, and probably harder than anything Sukuna has actually done, because this is really Sukuna's first full-on offensive with something beyond his domain. But I think Mahoraga probably has a weakness we have not seen so far, an adaptation limit or something else. If something like Gojo's 6 eyes have a weakness, something as powerful as the Dharma Chakra probably does too. And even though so far the Dharma Chakra wheel has been indestructible, we saw this in Shibuya where it just completely survived the fire arrow before it turned back into shadows, I'm guessing Gojo is going to do something to either destroy the wheel or destroy Mahoraga or all of the above. but what I really want to see is Gojo's Black Flash against Mahoraga, because Black Flash is a cool ability, and seeing Gojo do something interesting with it, that'd be pretty neat. And while yes, I think Mahoraga dies, that's not to say I'm not going to gas this thing to the end of the earth. Gojo looks like a straight up victim in this panel. The words are going over his body. Its title is overwriting his essence. So now whatever Gojo probably uses to kill this thing, because I don't think Gojo is going to be a Mahoraga victim, it is probably going to be a brand new part of the color spectrum. But next chapter, Gojo is shocked that Unlimited Void is adapted to, and he's probably going to be continuously shocked as he finds out probably everything is adapted to. And we don't know what reinforcement amps Sukuna gave to Mahoraga since he tamed it. We have not actually seen Mahoraga fight ever since Shibuya, so it's probably a lot stronger under Sukuna, especially if it's tamed. Its adaptation has definitely been shown to be better. Personally, I want to see Gojo blasted with a giant hollow purple, and I want it to rise from the ashes like a hulking Goliath creature. And if this does turn out to be a 1v1, Mahoraga's stats are probably going to be pretty close to Gojo's. I do hope it is more interesting than just a fist fight, because we kind of got that a lot already with Gojo and Sukuna. And what I'm really hoping to see Gojo do is actually remember he has an overpowered teleport that can teleport from the bottom of the ocean. That sounds really convenient here. If he proves too much, just clap your hands together, go up and float. What's he gonna do? Stab you or something? Well, actually. Alright, I'm laying out how I would kill the Mahoraga plan and kill Sukuna, assuming he is still baking. Now, I am also assuming that even though Gojo's technique is currently burnt out, he is capable of recovering his brain juice. So, simple plan. You teleport away, you teleport back with Angel, and you drop a Jacob's Ladder on everybody. Angel may have said they're combat unworthy, but they're still flying around and able to use a Jacob's Ladder, so that sounds like baloney to me. And after last chapter, I want to talk about Megumi for a bit, because Megumi is a character that Gojo is 100% trying to save right now. And while last chapter it didn't seem like there was a lot more to Gojo's plan other than saying I'm going to beat his ass and dismantle this man, I expect if we actually see Megumi get free during this, it's going to be a little more reserved than him getting ripped limb from limb. And if Gojo blows up Mahoraga, well, that kind of leaves the totality there for Megumi if he becomes free. A lot of people think that Megumi will never be free, and I'm not really here to argue that in this video, so let's just go off the assumption that he is going to be free. So if he comes back, he's going to be soaked in Sukuna's cursed energy with a fully tamed Mahoraga, or its totality if it dies here. Mahoraga is still tied to Megumi's 10 Shadows technique, just like all the other Shikigami Sukuna is using. So Sukuna will have done some pretty heavy lifting for Megumi, but Megumi will still have the opportunity to make a final power-up in completing his own domain. Because really, what is the future of 10 Shadows? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from Mahoraga and a personal wheel? Well, how do you guys feel about Chimera Shadow wheels? You want to see wheels everywhere? You want to see 14 news with a wheel? You want to see a big old thick elephant wheel? Or how about a rabbit escape complete with your own personal adapting rabbits, all led by Totality Divinus Divine General Mahoraga? But that's just my opinion, and I want to hear yours. How do you think that Gojo is going to get past Mahoraga? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like content like this, subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.